Hello friends, today we're working on a Husqvarna 323L weed trimmer, and the air filter housing on this has broken. This part I'm pointing to here, the little lid that goes on it, has cracked and fallen off, and part of the guide and housing mechanism is also broke. You can see how it's wiggling right now because it's cracked. We're going to show you how to fix this and replace it for about $25 for the part, and just maybe a half hour of your time and labor. Also going to add bonus feature in here on how to replace the fuel lines, because I ended up having cracked fuel lines as well. So let's get started. We've got this little magnetic pan. We're going to take 3 bolts off that hold the engine cover in place. 1 on the front and 2 on the back. And I love these Allen wrenches that have the big T-handle on top. They give you so much torque and control, and they fit perfectly into the holes. You can see there's 1 screw hole in the front. And then on the back side, there are 2 more. You remove those 3 screws, and the cover comes right off. Set that aside. We've got the magnetic holder with the screws safely secured. We're going to remove the nut for the air filter cover. It's just a big thumb wheel nut. It unscrews, and you gently pull it off. And behind that is the air filter. We'll pull the air filter out as well and set it aside, like so. And now there's going to be 2 more hex head screws that hold the air cleaner holder to the carburetor. We're going to use our T-handled wrench again and remove those. And now here's our new part with the part number. We've ordered this online. There'll be a link to this part in the description of the video from Amazon. It comes with the replacement cap and the cover assembly, along with the throttle cable guide. There's the screws that hold the cover and the carburetor in place. And now, we're not actually going to take the carburetor all the way off. We left that all attached to the cables and in place, setting loosely where it belongs, while we just gently remove the air cleaner assembly and replace it. You can see the throttle cable here where it's attached to, sort of attached to the air cleaner. It locks into a little groove on the air cleaner. So you need to release the throttle cable from the air cleaner before you pull it off. And you can see the little crack here in the air cleaner that's part of the problem while this is not running properly. It's sucking in air, which is never a good thing. It throws off your air-fuel mixture balance. Here's another close-up view of where the throttle cable retainer is built into the air cleaner assembly. The cable comes in from the left in this picture, and this guides the wire down to the linkage on the carburetor through that little channel right there. Pretty straightforward. And here's the new piece. Look at it, all nice and shiny, no cracks, no brittle plastic. And we're going to show you it slides right over the carburetor here, like this, with this little groove facing the gas tank. And we're going to lift up and move the throttle cable and wire just a little bit to hold it out of the way while we slide the new body underneath the wire. The little retainer nut for the air filter cover is not pre-installed. You have to push it down into the little area on the back side of the housing before you reassemble it. So there, we've bolted it back in place with the 2 long screws. We've made sure the throttle cable is hooked up properly. We're going to snap the access cover into place over the opening right there. You see how the throttle cable has been set in position, and the outer housing is in the groove that holds it in place. And then the wire comes out and goes down and connects the S-hook to the carburetor linkage. Very simple. We didn't even unhook that part from the carburetor. We just left it all attached when we did this. All right, now we're going to snap on the air cleaner cover. Attach the 2 long bolts. Tighten them down, not too tight, but good and snug so that you know they're not going to come loose. But if you go too tight on them, you could actually crack the housing, so be careful about that. All in all, this project was pretty straightforward and simple. I'm sure you can do it yourself, save some money, and get your weed trimmer back on track again. The problem was when we got to the end of this project, I found that it wasn't sucking the fuel up the way it should either, and it turned out to be brittle and broken fuel pickup tubes in the gas tank. So we're going to show you now how we replaced those fuel lines in the tank. And again, I recommend these T-handled hex tools because they really do a good job. And you gotta look how nice and smooth that throttle cable works now. It doesn't move or twist. It's nice and steady. We used the T-handle to tap that cover plate back in place. We're going to install the air filter and the cover cap, and this part of the project will be done. Okay, there's the air filter. And the cover cap with the thumb screw. Make sure you clean the air filter before you put it back in with a little soap and water. And put a little bit of, just a tiny drop or two of oil on it. The cover plate will just slide right back in place over the top. And the 3 screws will mount it back down securely. Very simple and straightforward. Okay. Nothing to it. You could do this yourself. All right, now we're going to show you how we actually repaired the fuel lines. And we need to take these 2 screws back out to take the starter pull handle off. There's 4 screws that hold that in place. So we're going to remove the starter pull handle assembly. And then once we've got that off, the gas tank, or fuel tank I guess we should say, will come right off. There's 4 little rubber stoppers that line up to keep it cushioned from vibrating and rubbing on the metal. So make sure you don't lose those when you lift the tank out of position. Now here's everything all disassembled. We have the tank out. We have one of the fuel lines out. The lid is off and the fuel filter is off. We're going to replace the line and the filter. What we did is we pulled it out through the top. And the little grommet there holds the line in place and seals everything in between the tank and the line. And there's a little extra seal that holds the fuel filter weight in place. In order to install this, you slide the seal onto the hose, push the hose in through the top, push it down tight so that the grommet locks in place, and then you have to reach down into the tank and pull the end of it out of the filler deck. I've got this little tool with a hook on the end that I like to use for this. It's a part off an old Jacobson snow thrower, but I've modified it and it works great for what I need it for. So we're going to work that right down into the tank. We're going to hook that little end piece around the rubber, pull it out so that it's sticking out through the nozzle. Attach the fuel filter to it and the little retainer seal, and then push it down into the tank so that it moves around freely in the long area of the tank. It lays on the very bottom of the tank to pick up the fuel. You might as well replace the other line while you're here too, even though there's no pressure on it. It's just a fuel return line. And it pushes in through the top. You don't need to reach through and grab it or anything. Just leave enough sticking out to reach the carburetor. You can do this yourself and save some money.